and pushed his hand away. Jenya, let me tell you, in this family, it's either her or me. You figure it out yourself. This harsh statement left Dad completely frozen in place, holding my little brother's hand. I silently moved to the corner of the room, trying my best to keep a low profile, but my eyes never left them for a single moment. I was observing, analyzing, observing every expression on Dad's face, analyzing which way the scale in his heart would tip. My younger brother, Zhou Yang, seemed to sense the tension in the air as well. He stopped playing with his building blocks, his small hands clutching tightly at the corner of my shirt. His big eyes filled with fear. I patted his back reassuringly. Don't be afraid, Yang, Big Sister is here. In this life, Big Sister will protect you with all her might. Dad took a deep breath and finally made up his mind. He walked up to the closed door and raised his hand to knock. Lu Fang, come out. His voice was barely suppressing his anger. There was no response from inside. Lu Fang, I said come out. Can't you hear me? His voice rose a few notches, and the force of his knocks on the door intensified. The door banged loudly. Finally, the lock clicked. The door was yanked open from the inside. Lu Fang stood in the doorway, her hair disheveled and eyes bloodshot, like an enraged lioness. What's all the shouting for? Going to a funeral? The moment she opened her mouth, it was full of gunpowder and fury. Look at the good mess you've made. Dad pointed at the mess all over the floor and growled at her. The good mess I've made. Lu Fang let out a cold laugh, crossed her arms, and swept her gaze contemptuously over him and Grandma, Zhou Jenya. Get this straight, this is my house. I want to invite a few friends over to play cards in my own home. Is there a problem with that? You, on the other hand, my dear mother, barge in without a word, start hitting and yelling, and even flip my table. That's called trespassing. It's illegal, don't you understand? You, her father was trembling with rage at her distorted version of the truth. Mom is doing this for Yang's own good. You stay home alone with the child, yet you invite a bunch of people over to smoke and play cards. Do you have any sense of maternal responsibility? Responsibility? Lu Fang looked as if she had just heard the most ridiculous joke in the world. I wash your clothes, cook your meals, and take care of our son every single day at home. And you're saying I have no sense of responsibility? I'm just tired and want to hang out with friends to unwind. Is that wrong too? Look at you, Zhou Jenya. Who are you to criticize me? Her attack, without warning, turned toward Dad. You're out running around all day, claiming to discuss business deals. Where's the money? How much have you actually brought home? In this household, what isn't subsidized by my family? What you eat and wear? Which part of it didn't cost my parents money? A grown man like you, living off others to this extent, and you still have the nerve to lecture me. These words, like the sharpest blade, plunged fiercely into Father's most vulnerable pride. His face instantly turned a dark, mottled purple. His lips trembled, but not a single word could come out. Indeed, he could not utter a word, because most of what Lu Fang said was true. Dad's factory wasn't doing well, and his job as a purchasing officer was just a cushy position that sounded good on paper. His monthly salary was barely enough to cover his own expenses. This family had only been able to keep up appearances thanks to the financial support from my grandparents. You're utterly unreasonable. It took a moment for Dad to squeeze out those words through clenched teeth. I'm unreasonable. Lu Fang's smile grew even more mocking. I think it's your mom who's being unreasonable. At her age, she still has to meddle in the affairs of us young people, and that lovely daughter of yours. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were cold and venomous. At such a young age, you've already learned to lie and deceive people, making excuses about writing an essay. I can see she did it on purpose, just trying to make sure I can't have a moment's peace at home. Tattling to your dad, huh, Zhou Yan? What bad things have you been saying about me? She stepped closer to me, one step at a time. Instinctively, I shielded my younger brother behind me, my body trembling slightly with fear. But this fear was half feigned, half real, confronting this woman who had personally pushed me into hell in my past life. The trembling deep in my bones was utterly beyond control. Don't scare the child, Dad finally snapped out of it and quickly pulled me behind him. I can see she's been spoiled rotten by you. Lu Fang pointed at me and screamed at Dad, a good-for-nothing loser, and you treat them like a treasure. My son, have you ever once asked about him? Enough. The grandmother, who had been silent all along, suddenly exploded. She rushed over, shoved Lu Fang aside, and held my brother and me tightly in her arms. You troublemaker. Who are you calling a worthless wretch? Yan Yan is my Zhou family's granddaughter, Yang Yang is my Zhou family's grandson. You, an outsider, have no right to gossip and judge here. Make yourself clear today. Are you trying to say you can't stand having Yan Yan around? If you don't want to keep it, I'll take it away. The Zhou family will keep it ourselves. Fine, Lu Fang shouted, throwing caution to the wind. Take it away right now. Take your useless son and your precious grandson with you, all of them. I don't want this family anymore. Let's get a divorce. Fine, let's divorce. Dad was finally pushed over the edge, and roared out those words. In the living room, a deathly silence fell instantly. Everyone was stunned, including me. I didn't expect things to come to this. Divorce. In the previous life, they had quarreled and fought countless times as well, but the word divorce had never actually been spoken by either of them in this life. Because of my rebirth and the gentle flutter of my wings as a butterfly, such a violent storm has been set off. Lu Fang was also stunned. She probably never expected that her always timid father would actually dare to utter those two words. Her expression shifted repeatedly. There was shock, there was anger, but more than anything, an awkward sense of being in too deep to back out. Fine, fine. She pointed at her father and said two emphatic, good words. Zhou Jianya, you've got some nerve. Don't you dare regret saying that. With that, she turned around, and with a bang, slammed the door shut again. This time, we all heard the sound of the lock clicking shut from inside. 05, that click of the lock was like a thunderbolt, shaking everyone in the living room with unease. Grandma's expression was very grim. She was probably regretting it too. Her words just now had been too harsh, pushing things to a point beyond redemption, but she still refused to back down verbally. Fine, get a divorce then. Once we're divorced, our Janya can find someone better. Unlike some people, who can't do anything except play mahjong. Dad remained silent. He slumped onto the sofa, thrust his hands into his hair, and clutched his head in pain. I knew it. He regretted it. He simply didn't have the courage to get a divorce. It was just a momentary impulse, triggered by Lu Fang's words, which had wounded his pride, that made him yell out those two words. Now that he has calmed down, he is only filled with a lingering fear. If this family falls apart, he would have no idea how to pick up the pieces. I look at his cowardly demeanor and feel not the slightest stir in my heart. In fact, there is even a secret sense of satisfaction. Dad, have you finally tasted the pain yourself? Compared to what I suffered in my past life, this pain isn't even 1/10,000th of that. A stifling silence spread through the air. In the end, it was Grandma who gave in first. She sighed, her tone softening. Janya, don't be angry with her either. She's always had that terrible temper, spoiled by her family. Wait until she calms down, then have a proper talk with her. Life, as it is, must go on. For Yang Yang and Yan Yan, this family cannot fall apart. Dad still did not look up, only letting out a muffled from his throat. Grandma sat for a while longer, glanced at the deadlock, and knew there was no point in staying any longer. She patted Zhou Yang on the head, then looked over at me. Grandma is going back now. Yan Yan, you're sensible. Keep an eye on your little brother and try to talk some sense into your dad. Okay, Grandma. I obediently nodded. After seeing Grandma off, it was just the three of us at home. Dad was still sitting on the sofa, like a statue. My younger brother, Zhou Yang, was probably hungry. He whispered to me, "Sister, hungry." My heart ached. It was almost 7 o'clock. And yet no one in this house had even thought about making dinner. I walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge. The inside was completely empty, except for a few eggs and some leftover rice. Skillfully, I rinsed the rice, lit the stove, and cracked 2 eggs to make the simplest bowl of egg fried rice. I brought the fried rice to Zhou Yang and fed him with a small spoon. Be good, Yang Yang. Have a little bit to settle your stomach. Zhou Yang obediently opened his mouth and ate, bite by bite. His father, seemingly drawn by the aroma, finally looked up, watching me skillfully take care of my younger brother. A hint of guilt showed in his eyes. Yan Yan, are you hungry, Dad? Dad, I'm not hungry, you eat it. I pushed the other bowl of fried rice toward him. I'll wait for Mom to come out and eat with her. I deliberately brought up Lu Fang. The light in Dad's eyes dimmed. He picked up his spoon and mechanically shoveled rice into his mouth, chewing like wax. Dinner ended in that eerie silence. I cleared the dishes, bathed Shou Yang, and coaxed him to sleep. By the time I finished all of this, it was nearly 9 o'clock. Dad was still sitting in the living room. The TV was on, but he clearly hadn't taken in a single word. That door was still tightly locked. Lu Fang had shut herself inside, not making a single sound, as if she didn't exist at all, but I knew she must be listening to what was happening outside. She was waiting for Dad to knock on the door, to apologize, to beg her, just like what had happened after countless arguments in the past. But this time, she miscalculated. Dad didn't move, his pride deeply wounded. He was silently protesting through this very silence. I walked over and sat down beside him. Dad, yeah, Mom, she hasn't eaten yet, I said softly. Dad's body stiffened for a moment. She's not hungry, he answered bluntly, but food is the staff of life. How can she go without eating? I continued, speaking in a naive yet worried tone. Dad, go and apologize to Mom. I'm not going, he retorted almost instantly. She went too far this time. But Grandma did flip over her mahjong table. I casually reminded her. Mom must be really angry too. Dad fell silent. I pressed on. While the iron was hot, Dad, you're the head of the family. Just give in to Mom a little more. We're a family. As long as we talk things out, everything will be fine. If you keep giving Mom the cold shoulder like this, I'm scared. I lowered my head, my voice growing a little choked. Every word of this struck a chord deep in Dad's heart. It gave him a way to back down gracefully, while also feeding that pathetic bit of vanity he had as the head of the family. He looked at me for a long time, and his gaze grew tender. He sighed and patted my head. My yen is still the most understanding. He stood up, walked to the door of the room, and hesitated for a long time. Finally, he still raised his hand and knocked gently on the door. Lu Fang, open the door. His voice carried a note of compromise. If something's wrong, let's talk it over. Inside the door, there was still utter silence. Father looked somewhat embarrassed. He raised his voice. Lu Fang, stop messing around. I'm telling you, if you don't open the door, you'll bear the consequences. This threat, fierce in tone but weak in substance, had no effect whatsoever. Instead, it seemed to light a fuse. Get lost. Finally, from behind the door came Lu Fang's voice, barely containing her rage. Only one word, yet it was filled with hatred. Dad's face turned completely dark. He turned and walked back to the sofa, sat down heavily, and didn't say another word. I knew that this Cold War wouldn't end tonight, and I, for one, do not want it to end. Quarrels, silent treatments, resentment, these are just the appetizers. Lu Fang, the main course I've prepared for you is still to come. I was lying in my own little bed, yet I felt no trace of sleepiness. I closed my eyes, and my mind kept replaying everything that had happened today. Every step had gone according to my plan. In fact, it had gone even more smoothly than I had anticipated. I successfully left home and cleared my name of suspicion. I successfully lured Grandma over and ruined Lu Fang's card game. I successfully intensified the conflicts between the couple and between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. My younger brother, Shou Yang, is safe. At least, today is safe. But what about tomorrow? And the day after? Lu Fang's obsession with mahjong has reached a pathological level. A single failure only makes her even more insane next time. I can't rely on Dad and Grandma every single time. I have to come up with a once-and-for-all solution, a way to make Lu Fang completely disappear from our lives. Divorce, this word came to mind once again. Today, Dad blurted it out impulsively. He may regret it, but the seed has already been planted. All I need to do is let that seed take root, sprout, and grow into a towering tree. I want to make Dad completely lose faith in Lu Fang, to make him utterly despair over her. I want to make him willingly and proactively propose a divorce. This is difficult, I know, this is extremely difficult. My father is cowardly, cares too much about saving face, and is also mindful of my younger brother and me. But no matter how hard it gets, I must see it through, because only this way can I completely rescue my younger brother and myself from this abyss. My brain began to race. I need a plan more thorough and more perfect than today's, a plan that will completely expose Lu Fang's selfishness, malice, and utter lack of maternal instinct to the light of day, a plan that will leave her with no way to ever recover. The night deepened. Outside the window, it was pitch black, yet in my eyes, a cold gleam flickered. One that didn't match my age, 06. The next morning, the atmosphere at home remained just as cold. Dad hadn't slept all night, and there were heavy dark circles under his eyes. He got up very early, threw together a simple meal for himself, and was about to leave for work. As he passed by Lu Fang's door, he hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he didn't knock again. Yen Yen, Dad is going to work now. He said to me, "You're home today. Take good care of your little brother. If your mom comes out, then you say a few nice words to her." His voice was filled with exhaustion and helplessness. "Got it, Dad." I obediently agreed. After seeing Dad off, I looked at the tightly shut door and let out a cold sneer. Say something nice. All I can say are words that would send her to hell. It was past 9 in the morning when the door finally opened. Lu Fang walked out. She had changed her clothes and put on light makeup, as if yesterday's argument had never happened, but her red, swollen eyes and tight-set lips still gave away how she was feeling. She didn't look at me, nor at Zhou Yang, who was playing in the living room. She walked straight to the telephone and picked up the receiver. I pricked up my ears. I knew what she was going to do. Sure enough, she dialed a number. "Hello, Sister Wang." Her voice carried a deliberately forced enthusiasm. "It's me, Lu Fang. Oh, I'm really sorry about yesterday. An elder relative showed up at my place all of a sudden. She's got a bit of a temper and scared all of you. Please accept my apology on her behalf." Yes, that's right. At her age, she just loves to worry over nothing. She casually dismissed her grandmother as being unreasonable. "Sister Wang, do you think today would be convenient? Go to your place." "Oh, I couldn't possibly impose." Her mouth said, "Sorry," but her tone was full of impatience. Fine. It's settled then. I'll pack up a bit and be right there." Hanging up the phone, a genuine smile finally appeared on her face. That was a heartfelt craving for mahjong. She turned around and finally looked me in the eye. "Zhou Yan." She called my name, her tone cold and hard. "I'm going out for a bit to discuss something with Aunt Wang and the others. You stay home and keep an eye on your little brother. No going out, no running around. Got it?" Here we go again. Exactly the same words as in the previous life. Exactly the same orders. Only this time, the setting had changed from his own home to someone else's. "Oh." I lowered my head and responded timidly. Lu Fang grunted in satisfaction, then turned and went back to her room to get her bag. I watched her retreating figure, a cold glint flashing in my eyes. Here's my chance. The stage I carefully prepared for you is already set. Now, it all depends on how you, the leading role, choose to perform. While she was taking her bag, I quietly walked over to Zhou Yang. I took a piece of candy out of my pocket. "Dad bought that for me yesterday when he took me out. I've been reluctant to eat it all this time." Yang, look, big sister is giving you some candy." I unwrapped the candy and placed the crystal clear fruit drop in the palm of his hand. Zhou Yang laughed happily and immediately stuffed the candy into his mouth. "Sister is so nice," he said, his words mumbled. I patted him on the head. Yang, how about your sister plays a little game with you?" Okay. "In a little while, after Mom leaves the house, pretend your tummy really hurts, like, really bad. So bad that you roll around on the ground. Can you do that?" As I spoke, I gestured with my hands. Zhou Yang's big eyes were full of confusion. "Why, sis, because as long as your stomach hurts, Mom will stay here with you. She won't go out looking for Aunt Wang anymore, and she'll buy you lots and lots of delicious things." I used every beautiful word I could imagine to tempt a 3-year-old. "Really?" Zhou Yang's eyes lit up. "Really?" I nodded emphatically. "Well, all right," he agreed, though looking as if he only half understood. At that moment, Lu Fang had already walked out with her bag. She had changed into high heels, and at the entrance, she looked in the mirror and tidied her hair. "I'm leaving," she said to us without looking back. "Remember to lock the door." Just as she reached out her hand to open the door, I shot my younger brother a look. Zhou Yang caught the signal and immediately let out an ouch, clutching his stomach as he collapsed to the floor. "Tummy, my tummy hurts." He rolled around on the ground as he cried out. His acting was, in fact, quite poor, but for a 3-year-old, it was more than enough. Lu Fang's movement stopped. She turned around and looked at Zhou Yang on the ground with a frown. "What's wrong now?" There was no concern in her voice, only impatience. "Mom, I don't know." I immediately rushed over, hugged Zhou Yang. and put on an expression as if I was about to cry from worry. Just a moment ago, my little brother was fine, but suddenly he said his stomach hurts. Mom, is my little brother sick? Let's take him to the hospital. Hospital. Lu Fang's brow furrowed even tighter. She glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already 9:30. Sister Wang and the others must have all arrived. 3 players are waiting for one more. They're just missing her. If she goes to the hospital now, registering, waiting in line, getting examined, the whole day will be wasted there. Her card game was spoiled again. A flicker of hesitation crossed her face, but soon, that hesitation was completely overwhelmed by the lure of mahjong. She walked over, crouched down, and perfunctorily touched Zhou Yang's forehead. No fever. What ailments could a child possibly have? Must have eaten something unclean just now. She glanced at the candy wrapper I had just thrown into the trash bin. See, eating candy again without thinking. She easily shifted the blame onto that piece of candy. Zhou Yan, go get him a glass of hot water to drink. Drink some hot water and lie down for a while. He'll be fine. She stood up. Mom, but my little brother looks really unwell. I looked at her with concern. Don't you understand what I'm saying? Lu Fang's patience had completely run out. She snapped sharply. I told you to go get water. What could be so important for a little kid like you? I have something urgent to attend to. I don't have time to waste here with you. With that, she didn't spare us. Another glance, she pulled open the door and walked out quickly. With a bang, the security door slammed shut, separating us siblings from her into 2 different worlds. I stared at the cold iron door, listening to the sound of her high heels clicking away into the distance. Slowly, I helped Zhou Yang, who was still rolling around on the floor. All right, Yang, stop pretending. Mom is gone. Zhou Yang stopped, rubbed his eyes, and looked utterly wronged. Sis, you lied. Mom didn't stay with me. I crouched down and wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. My voice was cold and calm. Yeah, Mom doesn't want us anymore. She went to play mahjong. My plan was half successful. I have successfully created the perfect scenario. The mother, fully aware that her son is sick, still cruelly abandons him just to play mahjong. Now, I need an audience, one spectator who can see this scene clearly and carries enough weight to testify for me. I pick up Zhou Yang. Yang, don't cry. Your sister is going to take you to find Daddy right now. Let's go. Tell Dad how Mom treated us. 07, holding Zhou Yang. I walked out of the apartment building. The sun was shining brightly, and the streets were bustling with people, full of the vitality of everyday life, but my heart felt as if it were soaked in icy water. I have no money. I don't know the exact location of my father's factory. In my past life, I only vaguely remember him mentioning it. The industrial zone east of the city. From our home to the east side of the city, it takes at least an hour by bus. What should I do? I looked at my younger brother, whose eyes were teary with grievance in my arms, and a surge of ruthlessness rose within me. Zhou Yan, you can't panic. You've already died once before. Such a small thing is no challenge for you. Holding my little brother in my arms, I walked to the security booth at the entrance of our neighborhood. Inside the booth was a chubby middle-aged man in his 50s. I recognized him. Everyone called him Uncle Lee. In my previous life, after my younger brother met with his accident, the police came to investigate. Uncle Lee was the first to testify, saying that on that afternoon, he only saw my brother and me at home, and did not see Lu Fang leave. His testimony indirectly became one of the coffin nails that sealed my guilt. In this life, he will become my first witness. Holding my brother in my arms, tears came as easily as if on cue. I ran toward the security booth, crying as I went. Uncle Lee, Uncle Lee, Uncle Lee, who had been reading the newspaper, quickly leaned out when he heard my cries. Oh my, isn't this Yan? What's the matter? He saw Zhou Yang in my arms and also saw the tears streaming down both our faces. Little brother is in terrible pain. I was sobbing so hard I could barely breathe, as if the whole world were falling apart. Mom went out and forgot her phone. I can't find her. Uncle Lee, my dad works at the Red Star machinery plant in the east of the city. Could you help me give him a call? I'm afraid something might happen to my little brother. My words came out jumbled, but they were just enough to paint a picture of a negligent mother and a helpless older sister. The moment Uncle Lee heard that the child was sick and the mother wasn't even home, he became truly worried. Don't worry, kid, Uncle is going to call your dad right now. He immediately put down the newspaper and pulled out a phone book from the drawer. The factory phone numbers are all registered in the book. He quickly found the number for Red Star Machinery Factory. The call was dialed out. After a few beeps, the call connected. Uncle Lee spoke loudly into the phone, explaining the situation. Hey, go find Zhou Jianya in your factory's purchasing department. Yes, I'm the security guard for his neighborhood. His daughter is crying downstairs at his place, saying his son has a severe stomachache and his wife is nowhere to be found. Tell him to come back right away. The child needs attention. Uncle Lee is warm-hearted and speaks with a strong, resonant voice. After hanging up the phone, he said to me, Yen, don't be scared. Your dad will be back soon. I shook my head, and my tears fell even harder. No, Uncle Lee, I can't wait any longer. My brother, his face has gone pale. I pinched Zhou Yang, and he burst into tears with a loud wah from the pain. This only further cemented the illusion that his condition was serious. Uncle Lee panicked at the sight as well. What should we do? How about I call an ambulance for you? No, I refused immediately. The ambulance is here, Mom's not around, and neither is Dad. What do I do all by myself? Uncle Lee, I want to take my little brother to find Dad. If Dad's there, I won't be scared. I said this in an extremely dependent tone toward my father. These words made Uncle Lee feel even more affection and pity for me. But how are you going to get there all by yourself? I'll take the bus. I looked up, my eyes stubborn yet helpless. I don't know the way, but I know it's the Red Star Machinery Factory. Uncle Lee, could you write down the factory name for me? I'm afraid I might remember it wrong. Uncle Lee let out a heavy sigh, his eyes full of reproach toward Lu Fang and sympathy for us. He found a piece of paper and, using a thick pen, carefully wrote the 5 characters, Red Star Machinery Factory, stroke by stroke. Here you go. Thank you, Uncle Lee. I took the note and clutched it tightly in my hand. Be careful on the road, and keep an eye on your little brother. Uncle Lee reminded him worriedly. Do you have enough money? Uncle has some here. It's enough. I still have the allowance Dad gave me. I told one last lie, then, holding Zhou Yang in my arms, I resolutely walked toward the bus stop. I was completely broke, but I knew that on the bus, there would always be kind-hearted people, holding my critically ill little brother in my arms. I sobbed until my eyes were red. A sight like this was more than enough to win anyone's sympathy. Sure enough, after I got on the bus, I explained the situation to the driver. Not only did the driver not ask for my fare, but he also kindly gave up a seat for me. The surrounding passengers also cast concerned glances their way. Where's this child's mother? How could she let an older child take a sick little one out? Honestly, these young mothers these days are so irresponsible. Listening to these remarks, I lowered my head and buried my face in my brother's hair, yet, there was not a single ripple in my heart. Lu Fang, do you hear that? This is how the world judges you, and I will carve that judgment onto your pillar of shame, for all eternity. An hour later, the bus finally came to a stop in the industrial zone. Following the name on Uncle Lee's note and asking around along the way, I finally found the rusty, weather-beaten gate of Red Star Machinery Factory. The security guard at the entrance stopped me. Little girl, who are you looking for? I'm looking for my dad. His name is Zhou Jianya. He works in the purchasing department. I repeated the words I had already said countless times. The security guard, seeing the urgency on my face as I held my child, still made an internal call. Soon, my father's familiar and somewhat impatient voice came through on the other end of the line. Hello, who is it? Section Chief Zhou, your daughter is at the entrance looking for you, and she's carrying your son. The security guard said, on the other end of the line. There was a few seconds of silence. I could almost picture Dad's expression at this moment. First shock, then anger. Let them in, his voice, suppressing rage. I carried my little brother and walked into the factory, walking through the workshop thick with the smell of motor oil. I arrived at the dingy office building. The purchasing department was on the 2nd floor. No sooner had I stepped onto the stairs than I saw Dad standing at the office door. His face was ashen. In the office, a few figures were peeking in. They were his colleagues. Zhou Yan, what are you doing here? He lowered his voice and barked at me sternly. Who told you to come? His first reaction wasn't concern for us, but the feeling that I had embarrassed him. My heart felt no surprise, had long seen through this cowardly, face-obsessed man. Without answering him, I simply shifted Zhou Yang in my arms and held him out a bit further. Dad, brother, he's fading fast. My voice broke with sobs as my body swayed, as if I might collapse the next second. Zhou Yang played along perfectly, letting out weak groans in my arms. At last, Dad's expression changed. He saw Zhou Yang's tear-streaked, flushed little face and his listless expression. His anger was instantly replaced by concern. What's wrong with Yang? He rushed over and took his little brother from my arms. What's going on? The office door opened, and several colleagues gathered around. Oh my, Jenya, these are your two kids, right? What's wrong with the little one? Looks so pale. Hurry, take her to the hospital. The clamor of the crowd struck Dad's pride like so many hammers. I burst out with a wah and sat down on the ground, crying loudly. Dad, I don't know either. After Mom left the house this morning, my little brother said his stomach hurt and started rolling on the floor. I called Mom, but she didn't answer. I got scared. So I had no choice but to bring my little brother to you. My words reached everyone's ears loud and clear. After Mom left the house in the morning, my little brother had a stomachache. He called Mom, but she didn't answer. Every word accuses Lu Fang of negligence and indifference. Dad's face could no longer be described as ashen. It was the color of liver, a mix of anger, shame, and worry, an extreme, unbearable embarrassment. Holding Zhou Yang, he looked at me crying on the ground, then glanced at the strange looks from his colleagues around us. He knew that today, he had completely lost face. Stop staring. Are all your tasks done? He barked at his colleagues, fierce in tone but weak at heart. Then, he pulled me up. Let's go to the hospital. His hand, gripping my wrist hard from the tension, made it ache, but I didn't care at all. Dad, this is only the beginning. The best part of the show is yet to come. 08. Dad, almost as if fleeing, pulled me along and carried Zhou Yang as we rushed out of the office building. Behind us, the murmurs of his colleagues pricked his back like invisible needles. His wife's off playing mahjong again, isn't she? 80% sure. Last time I heard him say his wife loves playing this. TSK, really, the kid is this sick, and she's that carefree. Old Zhou is pitiful too, stuck with a wife like that. These voices, not too loud yet not too soft, just loud enough to drift into Dad's ears. His pace quickened, and his expression darkened as soon as he exited the factory gate. He immediately hailed a taxi driver to the nearest hospital. Inside the car, the atmosphere was oppressively tense. Dad was holding Zhou Yang, constantly feeling his forehead and checking his breathing. His tension and worry were real, and I, sitting right next to him, kept my head down in silence. I was waiting for the right moment, a moment that could completely crush him. At the hospital, they registered, found a doctor, and went through a flurry of activity. The doctor was a middle-aged woman with plenty of experience. She gave Zhou Yang a preliminary examination, listened to his heartbeat, and pressed on his abdomen. Nothing serious. The doctor took off the stethoscope, his tone flat. Probably just something you ate, a bit of gastrointestinal cramping, nothing to worry about. Dad froze, but he was rolling on the ground in pain. Kids tend to exaggerate their reactions to pain, the doctor said, as if it were nothing out of the ordinary. If you're still worried, go get a blood test and an ultrasound, but from where I stand, it's nothing serious. Go home. Drink some warm water, watch your diet, and you'll be better in no time. Hearing this, Dad visibly breathed a sigh of relief, but immediately after, a stronger wave of rage flared up from deep inside him. No big deal. Because of this, no big deal. Little issue. Lu Fang, that woman who is also a mother, actually left her two children behind at home. She didn't even make a single phone call. Dad's lips trembled slightly with rage. He looked at the doctor and spoke with difficulty. Doctor, in that case, let's go ahead with the test, just for peace of mind. All right, I'll write you a referral. Holding the payment slip, Dad's face was so gloomy it looked as if it could drip water. He went to line up and pay the fee, holding Zhou Yang, who had finally calmed down. I sat on a bench in the hallway. Sister, when are we going home? Zhou Yang asked me in a low voice. He probably sensed something was off in the atmosphere. It'll be over soon. Be good, Yang. I patted his back reassuringly. Just then, Dad's phone rang. The sharp chord of the ringtone was particularly jarring in the quiet hospital hallway. Dad took out his phone and glanced at the caller ID. His body suddenly went stiff. Flashing on the screen were two characters. Wife, it's Lu Fang, she's finally willing to call. It's 11:30 a.m., she's been playing mahjong for 2 hours, probably on a break now. And only just remembered there are two kids at home. Dad took a deep breath and pressed the answer button. His hand was trembling. Hello, his voice came out hoarse and unsteady. Zhou Jianya, where are you? Why isn't anyone answering the home phone? On the other end of the line came Lu Fang's self-assured voice. In the background, there was the clatter of mahjong tiles and the laughter of women. The sounds were so clear. How ironic. Dad's eyes instantly turned red. Where am I? He squeezed out these 3 words through clenched teeth. I should be asking you, where are you? Lu Fang didn't seem to catch the odd tone in his voice. Where else would I be? I'm at Sister Wang's place. Didn't I tell you yesterday? Come back right away and bring me some money. My luck's bad today, and I'm almost out. Send money, she called, not to ask about the child, not to check on how things were at home, but to have him deliver gambling funds. I saw Dad's chest heaving violently. He was so angry that he couldn't even speak. Zhou Jianya, did you hear me? Someone's dead. Lu Fang urged impatiently on the other end of the phone. Lu Fang, Dad finally spoke, his voice terrifyingly calm. Yang is sick. We're at the hospital now. On the other end of the line, there was silence. The noisy sound of mahjong seemed to have vanished as well. After a few seconds, Lu Fang's voice sounded again, tinged with uncertainty. The hospital. What are we going to the hospital for? Isn't it normal for a child to have a stomachache? Aren't you overreacting? She felt no guilt, not a single word of concern, only blame, blaming Dad for making a big fuss and ruining her mood for playing mahjong. These words were the last straw that broke the camel's back, making a mountain out of a molehill. Dad laughed. That laugh was more unsettling than a cry. Yeah, I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I shouldn't have given a damn about any of you. I should have just let Yang die in pain at home alone. I should have just let you enjoy yourself out there playing mahjong. He gritted his teeth and roared into the phone with all his might. Everyone in the hallway turned to stare at him in shock, but he no longer cared. Dignity, pride, at that moment, they had all shattered to dust. Lu Fang on the other end of the line seemed startled by his sudden outburst. Zhou Jianya, what the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? Dad gave a bitter smile. Lu Fang, let me ask you, in your heart, what really matters the most, your son, or your mahjong? Are you out of your mind? Lu Fang screamed. It's just a stomachache, isn't it? No big deal, no need to curse him to death like that. Let me tell you, Zhou Jianya, don't you dare use the child to pressure me. If you don't send me the money right now and make me lose face at the card table today, I'll make your life hell. The mask comes off. She finally voiced her truest thoughts. Her pride matters more than her son's health. Her mahjong matters more than this family. Dad's heart is completely, utterly dead. He didn't speak again. He just silently stared at the payment slip in his hand, staring at the 2 characters, Zhou Yang, on it. Then, he did something I had never seen him do in either of my 2 lifetimes. He slowly raised his hand, then, facing his phone, he pressed the red end call button. He hung up on Lu Fang. Amidst her threats and shouting, he voluntarily cut off contact with her. Then, he turned off his phone. The whole world fell silent. He looked up at me. The look in his eyes was something I had never seen before. Utterly lifeless, like burnt-out ashes. There is no longer any light. Yen. He called my name. Let's go to Grandma's house. 09. After leaving the hospital, Dad didn't take us back to that cold, lifeless home. He took my younger brother and me onto the bus to Grandma's house. He didn't say a single word the whole way. He just held the sleeping Zhou Yang in silence, staring blankly at the streetscape rushing past the window. I know that after that phone call, his heart had completely died. The woman he once loved, for whom he had given so much and made so many compromises. The mother of his child turned out to be so selfish, so cold-blooded. All excuses, all illusions, are shattered into pieces in the face of reality. Nothing is more despairing than hearing it with your own ears. Grandma lives in an old-fashioned residential compound. When we knocked and opened the door, Grandma was preparing lunch. She was stunned when she saw the 3 of us. Jianya, Yen, Yang, why are you here? Didn't you go to work and school? Her gaze fell on Dad's pale, bloodless face. What's wrong? What happened? Dad didn't say anything. He just carefully handed Zhou Yang, who was cradled in his arms, over to Grandma. Then, this man in his 30s, this man who had been putting up a strong front out in the world, in front of his own mother, he finally broke down. He sat down on the shoe-changing bench by the door and covered his face with both hands. His broad shoulders began to tremble violently, muffled. Agonized sobs escaped through his fingers. He cried like a child. He wailed uncontrollably in front of his own mother. Grandma was completely thrown into a panic, holding Zhou Yang. She looked at her son and paced around anxiously. "Oh my child, what's happened to you? Don't scare your mother like that." I walked over and tugged at Grandma's sleeve. "Grandma," my voice was hoarse, "my little brother got sick this morning." Then, in the calmest, most objective tone I could muster, I recounted everything that had happened that day, starting with Zhou Yang's stomach ache, about how Lu Fang ignored it all and insisted on going out to play mahjong, about how I turned to Uncle Li for help, and how I took my younger brother to the factory to find Dad, and then to the phone call between Dad and Lu Fang at the hospital. I didn't exaggerate or deliberately try to vilify Lu Fang, because the facts themselves are already shocking enough. The calmer I spoke, the more it highlighted just how utterly unreasonable Lu Fang's behavior was. Grandma, holding Zhou Yang in her arms, listened to me. Her expression shifted from shock to anger, and finally turned a cold, icy shade of livid. Her hands trembled slightly with rage. After I finished speaking, she didn't say a word. She simply placed Zhou Yang gently on the sofa and covered him with a blanket. Then she walked over to my father, who was still crying. She didn't comfort him. She simply reached out and gave his back a firm, heavy pat. "Cry." Her voice carried a fierce determination, the kind that comes from watching someone fail to meet your hopes. "Today, Mom's going to let you cry your heart out. Let out all the grievances you've held in over the years, all the frustration you've swallowed. Once you're done crying, stand up like a man, like your old lady's telling you. This family can't go on like this anymore." Dad cried even harder. All his strength, all his pretense, fell away in front of his mother. I watched it all in silence. In my heart, there was neither sympathy nor satisfaction. Only a cold, still calm. This is the Zhou family's own affair. It was I who personally lit this fire. Now, I will watch this fire burn that woman named Lu Fang to ashes, and also burn away father's ridiculous cowardice and illusions along with it. That day, we stayed at Grandma's house. Grandma had prepared a big table full of dishes. She kept serving food to Zhou Yang, telling him stories, as if she wanted to bring all the best things in the world to her precious grandson. She also served me a lot of food. "Yen, eat more. Look how thin you are. You've had a hard time these days." Her eyes were filled with both affection and guilt. She was probably thinking about how, in her past life, she had berated and struck me without any regard for right or wrong, though she has no knowledge of that past life. But everything that happened today is enough to make her realize that in this family, the most sensible and dependable person is me. Dad's emotions gradually stabilized. He barely ate anything, just drank a lot of alcohol. Grandma didn't stop him either. In the evening, Grandma tidied up a room for us to stay the night. I gave Zhou Yang a bath and coaxed him to sleep. When I walked out of the room, I saw Dad and Grandma sitting in the living room, talking. The light was dim, and their expressions were very solemn. I quietly hid behind the door and listened to their conversation. "Mom, I don't know what to do." It was Dad's voice, full of confusion and pain. "This marriage has to end in divorce." Grandma's voice, firm and resolute. "That woman doesn't have this family in her heart at all. She doesn't care about you or your two sons. Her heart was long since lured away by the mahjong table. If you keep living with her, sooner or later, this family will be ruined." Ruined. These 4 words struck my heart like a heavy sledgehammer. Yes, in my previous life. Didn't that mean the destruction of my family? My little brother died. I was sent to a juvenile detention center. Dad never recovered from the blow. Lu Fang, however, used the grief of losing her son to win everyone's sympathy, and in the end, took my maternal grandparents' money and remarried. "Why? But, Mom," Dad's voice was full of hesitation, "what about the kids? Yen and Yang are still so young. If we get divorced, they won't have a mother anymore. People will laugh at me." Even at a time like this, he's still worried about that ridiculous sense of pride, still holding on to unrealistic illusions about Lu Fang. Having no mother is better than having a mother like her. Grandma growled angrily. With her as a mother, Yang almost got himself killed today. have you forgotten, with her as a mother, Yen Yen, such a young child, has to act as both sister and mother, worrying about this family. Jenya, wake up, with her around, that's what hurts the kids the most. Divorce her, get custody of both children. If you can't raise them on your own, isn't there me to help? Even if I have to sell everything we own, I'll still help raise. Yen Yen and Yang Chang. Grandma's words were firm and resolute. The living room fell into a long silence. I could feel that inside. Dad was locked in a fierce inner struggle. On one side is the judgment of society, the deep-seated attachment to a complete family. On the other side is the harsh, bloody reality, the dangers that their children might face. A long moment passed. I heard my father say, in a voice nearly drained of all strength, "Mom, let me think about it some more." I quietly retreated back to my room. That's enough. No, he's already wavered. The seed called divorce has taken complete root in his heart now. I just need to give it one final push, give him a reason, one he can no longer escape or hesitate over. I lie on my bed, gazing at the moonlight outside the window. Lu Fang, you must have returned to that empty home by now, haven't you? What will your reaction be when you realize none of us are there? Will you panic, still think we're just throwing a little tantrum and will soon go back on our own? I'm guessing it's the latter. After all, in your eyes, none of us can do without you. Tomorrow, I will make you realize you are wrong, just how terribly wrong you are. 10. The next day, none of us mentioned going home. Dad took a day off, saying there was something going on at home. He took my younger brother and me to a nearby park. He bought cotton candy for Zhou Yang and me, and even accompanied Zhou Yang on the kiddie rides. He worked hard, trying to play the role of a good father. He wanted to make up for the ways he had failed us in the past. I could tell his smile was forced. His gaze would always unconsciously drift into the distance, filled with bewilderment. He was thinking about Lu Fang, or rather, he was thinking about the illusion of home that had been completely torn apart. I didn't call him out on it. Some roads he has to walk on his own. Some decisions must be made by him alone. Zhou Yang and I had a great time together, or rather, I acted like I was having a great time. My little brother was genuinely happy. He hadn't received such undivided companionship from his father in a long time. His crisp laughter, like sunshine, sprinkled over his father's overcast heart. I saw that when his father looked at his younger brother, a genuine tenderness would appear in his eyes. I knew that for Yang Yang's sake, he would find the strength to carry on. We had KFC for lunch outside. This was the first time in my 2 lives that I'd eaten it. In my past life, Lu Fang always said it was junk food and forbade us from touching it, but she herself often went there to eat with her card-playing friends. Dad clumsily tore apart the chicken legs for us and poured us some Coke, watching us wolf down the food. His eyes turned a little red. Eat slowly, Yen Yen and Yang Yang. From now on, Dad will bring you here often. I looked up and gave him a big smile. Thank you, Dad. After finishing the meal, we returned to Grandma's house. The phone at Grandma's house rang. Shortly after we walked in, the urgent ringing of the phone sounded like a death knell. Grandma and Dad exchanged a glance. Grandma walked over and picked up the receiver. Hello, who's speaking? Her voice was steady and forceful. On the other end of the phone, there were a few seconds of silence. Then came Lu Fang's voice, barely concealing her anger. Mom, it's me, Lu Fang. Where is Jenya? Put him on the phone. Her tone was not a question, but a command, as if all of us owed her something. He's not here. Grandma's reply was crisp and straightforward. Not here. Where did he go? Isn't he working today? Lu Fang's voice instantly rose in pitch. His phone is turned off too. What on earth are you up to? Let me ask you. Where are Zhou Yan and Zhou Yang? Did you call them over too? She didn't even ask how Yang Yang was doing with his illness. All she cared about was where we were and the trouble that caused her. Grandma let out a cold laugh. Lu Fang, how dare you ask about the child? Let me ask you, where the hell were you when Yang Yang was sick yesterday? Some mother you are, leaving your sick child at home while you go out to play mahjong. Is your heart made of stone? Grandma's words came like a barrage, each one striking Lu Fang in the face. On the other end of the line, Lu Fang was left speechless for a long moment. Then, she exploded. You old bastard. What gives you the right to lecture me? That's my son. I'll do whatever I want with him. Where's Zhou Jenya? Tell him to get his ass on the phone. Is he standing right next to you? If he doesn't want this marriage anymore, he should just tell me straight to my face, taking the kids and running away. What kind of man does that? She started throwing a tantrum. This was her usual trick. Grandma's face turned completely dark. Lu Fang, I'll make this clear to you today. Janya and the kids are with me now. They're not going back to that home. You want to play mahjong? Fine. Keep that house for yourself. You can stay in there alone. Playing till the sky darkens, till you drop dead, and no one will care. As for my son, my grandson, my granddaughter, from now on, none of them will have anything to do with you. With that, Grandma hung up the phone with a sharp click. She couldn't even be bothered to listen to Lu Fang's roaring curses any longer. The living room fell into utter silence. Dad's face was as pale as paper. Grandma's words were tantamount to a complete falling out, tearing apart any pretense of civility. They completely blocked his last way out. Mom, he spoke with difficulty. Grandma turned around and looked at him, her eyes firmer than ever before. Jian Yi, you're a man. What needs to be cut off must be cut off cleanly. If you don't, you'll only hurt yourself, and hurt Yen Yen and Yang Yang. Your choice. Dad closed his eyes in pain. I knew he was putting up his final struggle, and what I had to do was add the last straw. I walked over to him and gently took his hand. His hands were cold and trembling slightly. Dad, I looked up at him. There were no tears in my eyes, only a calmness that did not match my age. I don't want to go home, I said. That home has no Yang Yang's laughter, no care from you, only the sound of Mom playing mahjong. Clatter, clatter. I feel scared as soon as I hear that sound. I'm afraid my little brother might disappear. I'm scared that you might abandon us too. My voice was very soft, yet it struck Dad's heart like a heavy hammer. His eyes snapped open. He looked at my face, feigning bravery, and saw the fear buried deep in my eyes. He pulled me tightly into his arms. No way. His voice was hoarse, choked with emotion. Dad would never, ever abandon you. Never. I buried my face in his chest, the corners of my mouth curling into a cold arc. I know, I've won. Sure enough, it didn't take long. From downstairs came the blare of a car horn, then followed Lu Fang's sharp, shrewish shouting. Zhou Jianya, you get your ass down here, if you've got the guts. Say it to my face. What kind of man hides behind his mother's back? She is here. Not only is she here, but she has also brought reinforcements. A black sedan stops downstairs. Two people get out of the car. My maternal grandfather and grandmother. They had come to back up their precious daughter. Grandmother walked to the window and glanced downstairs. Her face instantly turned terribly sour. This family has gone too far in bullying us. Dad also stood up and walked over to the window. Looking down at the arrogant family of three downstairs, the last trace of hesitation and warmth in his eyes finally vanished completely. What took its place was an unprecedented coldness and resolve. Mom, he said, open the door, let them come up. Today, I'm going to settle everything, once and for all, completely. 11. The doorbell rang with a deafening force, as if trying to tear down the old security door, ring after ring. Full of impatience and provocation, Grandma's face turned ashen. Or perhaps because Dad was eager to sell, so the asking price wasn't very high. After receiving the payment for the house, the first thing Dad did was pay off the down payment that Grandpa had helped with back then. He transferred the money to Grandpa's card. Then, he sent a text message. The money has been paid back in full. We owe each other nothing. From then on, our Zhou family and the Lu family had no further ties whatsoever. Dad did not squander the remaining money. He rented a 2-bedroom, 1 living room apartment near his grandmother's house. The apartment wasn't big, but it was very clean and filled with sunlight. On moving day, we didn't hire a moving company. Grandma, Dad, me, and little Zhou Yang, our family of 4 is like a colony of hard-working ants. Little by little, we fill this new home. Dad goes to the flea market and finds a sturdy wooden bed and a desk. Grandma brings out the cotton she has treasured for years and has it made into soft, fluffy new quilts and mattresses for us. My job was to wipe everything down until it was spotless. Zhou Yang, like a little grown-up, ran around, clutching his Ultraman. Sister, Ultraman's home is right here. He solemnly placed the toy in the corner of the living room. Sunlight streamed in through the window. It glistened on the beads of sweat on Dad's forehead, fell on Grandma's graying hair, and shone on the smiling faces of my little brother and me. The whole room was filled with a warm, lived-in atmosphere. This is the kind of home I truly want. No deafening sound of mahjong tiles, no hysterical arguments, no cold neglect or scheming, only the company of family, and the care for one another. In the evening, We shared our first meal together in the new home. Grandma made her signature braised pork. For the first time, Dad opened a bottle of beer. He poured Zhou Yang and me a full glass of orange juice. Come, he raised his glass. To a new life. To a new life. Let's clink glasses together. The crisp sound of glass clinking echoed through the small room. It was the most beautiful music I had ever heard. After dinner, Dad stayed with Zhou Yang to play with building blocks in the living room. I helped Grandma wash the dishes in the kitchen. Yen Yen, Grandma said to me as she wiped the plates, these past days have been really hard on you. I know what she meant. It's not bitter, Grandma. I shook my head. Right now, it's not bitter at all. Grandma sighed. Her eyes filled with guilt. It was my fault, in the past. Wrongly blamed you. She finally uttered that long overdue apology. In my past life, the scene of her pointing at my nose and calling me a jinx is still vivid in my memory. It was a deep scar in my heart. I looked at her aged, wrinkled face, and saw the sincere regret in her eyes. The last bit of resentment in my heart finally faded away like smoke. She was just a pitiful old woman, bound by traditional ways of thinking and blinded by her son and grandson. After learning the truth, she stood by our side more firmly than anyone else. Grandma, it's all in the past. I reached out my hand and hugged her. From now on, as long as we live a good life together, that's what matters most. Grandma's body stiffened for a moment, then, she extended her calloused hand and gently patted me on the back. Good child, truly my good granddaughter. Coming out of the kitchen, Dad had already coaxed Zhou Yang to sleep. He sat on the sofa, looking at me with a very gentle gaze. Yen Yen, come here, Dad has something to tell you. I walked over and sat down beside him. What's wrong, Dad? He was silent for a long time, as if organizing his thoughts. Dad, I'm sorry for what I've done to you, he finally spoke, his voice a little hoarse. Before, I was too much of a coward. I only cared about saving face, and didn't see how much you and your mother had been through together, enduring so many hardships. I didn't protect you and Yang Yang well enough. It's Dad's fault. This was the first time he had apologized to me so formally. My heart trembled slightly. Dad, I don't blame you. I said, I know it's been hard for you too. No, he shook his head, interrupting me. Difficulty is not an excuse. As a father and a husband, if I failed in my duty, then I failed. He looked at me, his expression extremely earnest. Yen Yen, don't you worry. From now on, Dad will do everything in his power to protect you both. Never again will I let anyone bully you two siblings. I look at him, looking at his face, no longer young but filled with resolve. My eyes felt a little warm. In my past life, what I longed for most were these very words. Unfortunately, I waited until my death, but they never came, and in this lifetime, I finally heard it. I nodded, firmly. Yes, I believe you, Dad. That night, I slept more peacefully than ever. In my new room, on my new bed, I had a beautiful dream. In the dream, there were no cold cabinets, no vicious curses, only warm sunlight, smiling faces of Dad, Grandma, and little brother. Yet, even in a peaceful life, shadows always lurk. A few days later, I went to school. At the school gate, I saw the person I least wanted to see. It's Lu Feng. She has lost a lot of weight. Her face looks haggard, and her eyes are sinister. She just stood there, staring right at me, like a viper lurking in the shadows. My heart sank in an instant. I knew it. She was here for me. She wasn't going to let me off that easily. 15. She stood just across from the school, separated by a road, her eyes fixed on me with an unrelenting stare. Her gaze no longer carried that aloof contempt from before. Instead, it was a raw, naked hatred, brimming with malice and resentment, as if I were the one who had ruined her life. I ignored her. I just tightened my backpack straps and walked through the school gates with a blank expression. I cannot be afraid. The more afraid I am, the more she will gloat. I know she wouldn't dare do anything at the school gate. She's just coming to assert her presence, just coming to make me feel uneasy inside. She wants to see me panic, to see me frightened and disturbed. I simply refuse to let her have her way. I felt restless and unsettled all day. I was worried she might do something crazy, like showing up at our new home to cause trouble, or go and hurt Grandma and little brother. After school, I practically ran all the way home. When I pushed open the door out of breath and saw Grandma and my little brother watching TV safe and sound, my anxious heart finally settled. What's wrong, Yen Yen? Why the rush? Grandma asked with concern. It's nothing, I just want to get home early, I said with a smile, not telling her about seeing Lu Fang. I didn't want her to worry. At dinner, Dad noticed something was off with me. Yen, something on your mind. He served me a piece of spare ribs. After hesitating for a moment, I decided to tell him anyway. Dad, today, at the school gate, I saw her. I didn't say her name, but I knew Dad would understand. Sure enough, his chopsticks paused mid-reach for the food. His brow furrowed instantly. What did she say to you? What did she do? His tone suddenly became tense. Nothing. I shook my head. She's standing across the street, watching me. Dad's face darkened. Can't that woman ever let go? He muttered under his breath. Dad, don't worry, I'm not afraid of her, I reassured him. No, Dad's tone was resolute. This matter can't just be left like this. If she dares to corner you at school today, tomorrow she'll dare to do something even worse. I have to completely cut off her hopes. The next day, Dad took the day off. He didn't tell me what he was going to do, but from that day on, Lu Fang never appeared at the gate of my school again. It was only much later, piecing together fragments of what Grandma said, that I finally understood the truth of what had happened. That day, Dad went alone to Grandpa's workplace. He didn't argue, nor did he make a scene. He just sat at the entrance of Grandpa's office from the start of the workday until the end. He didn't say a word, ignoring anyone who asked, just like that, sitting in silence, through this wordless way. He was waging the most resolute resistance. He wanted everyone at his grandfather's workplace to see it. Zhou Jianya, how desperate had he been driven? Let everyone also see how Lu Zhenghua had failed to discipline his daughter and maintain family peace. Grandfather cared most about saving face. This move by Dad was undoubtedly a strike at his weakest point. By the end of the day, Grandpa was almost at his breaking point. He finally understood that his once timid son-in-law had completely changed. He had become a madman who would risk everything for his child. In the end, Grandpa gave in. He assured his father that he would send Lu Fang away immediately, to a place where we would never see her again. From then on, the two families had no further contact. Father, in his own way, kept his promise. He really did give it his all to protect us. Only after that did our lives truly get back on track. Dad quit his undemanding job as a buyer at the factory, using the money left over from selling the house. He went into partnership with a friend and opened a small hardware store. He worked from dawn to dusk every day, hauling goods, making deliveries, and keeping accounts. His skin grew tanned and his body grew lean, but his eyes grew brighter and brighter. That was the light of struggle, rekindled by life. Grandma cooks for us every day and takes care of our daily needs. The smile on her face grows more and more. My younger brother, Zhou Yang, is growing up healthy and strong in an environment full of love. He has become more and more lively and cheerful. And me, finally, I am able to live like a real child. I poured all my energy into my studies. My grades improved by leaps and bounds, and I soon became the top student in my grade. I no longer need to calculate or guard myself with an adult's mindset. I only need to study hard and make progress every day, protect my family, and then grow toward the sun. Time is the best medicine. It soothes pain and dilutes hatred. Sometimes, I also think of Lu Fang. I think of her face from the previous life, twisted by madness, thinking of how she, with her own hands, pushed me into hell. There is no hatred left in my heart, only a trace of indifference remains. She is nothing more than a pathetic creature whose soul has been devoured by greed and selfishness. She doesn't deserve me wasting even a single ounce of emotion on her. In this life, I have rewritten the fate of my younger brother and myself. I've also given my father a chance to start over. That's enough. A sunny weekend. Dad took my brother and me to the park to fly a kite. The kite flew higher and higher. My brother ran happily across the grass, laughing. Dad stood beside me, watching the kite in the sky and my younger brother on the ground, a contented smile on his face. Yen, he suddenly said to me. Thank you. I was stunned for a moment. Thank me for what? He turned his head, looked at me, with an expression of unprecedented tenderness and solemnity. Thank you, my daughter. It's you who made Daddy come back to life again. I smiled. In the sunlight, my smile was radiant beyond measure. Yes, we have all been reborn. How wonderful. 16. Time is a river that flows at its own unhurried pace. It washes away the dust and smooths the edges. 6 years have passed in the blink of an eye. We have long since moved out of that temporary rental and into a spacious, bright 3-bedroom home. This is the home Dad bought with the money he earned. A true, warm fortress that belongs to us alone, under my father's painstaking management. The hardware store's business grew bigger and bigger. From a single small shop front, it had now expanded into 2 storefronts, and he had become a small business owner employing 2 clerks. Father was no longer the timid, deferential purchasing agent who had to watch others' faces. He had become the pillar of our family. Time has etched fine lines at the corners of his eyes, but it has also infused his spine with steel. He is a man of few words, yet every glance is filled with strength and steadiness. Grandma's hair has turned completely white, but her spirit is even better than before. She no longer had to get angry over her son's spinelessness, nor did she have to lock horns with her troublesome daughter-in-law. Her daily task was to study recipes and cook delicious food for us, watching my younger brother and me grow taller, section by section like spring bamboo shoots. My younger brother, Zhou Yang, is already a sturdy, bright-eyed 3rd grader in elementary school. He is healthy, lively, and even a bit mischievous. He has no memories at all of the time before he was 3 years old. In his world, the word mom has been perfectly replaced by 2 identities, grandma and big sister. He will cling to his grandma's arm acting playfully, and he will also secretly hide a failed test paper in my school bag. He is the brightest sunshine in this family, and I am about to face the most important battle of my life, the college entrance exam. I have become a senior high school student. My grades have always been first in the grade. I have won every possible award and scholarship. They were solemnly plastered all over my room by my father. I know that I am doing this not just for myself. I am the pride of this family, and the greatest hope of Dad and Grandma. I must be exceptional enough for us to forget all the ugliness of the past, exceptional enough for us to have a bright future that no one can take away. Our life is calm, peaceful, and full of hope. It was as if that nightmare of mahjong and betrayal was nothing more than a forgotten chapter of the past, until that Saturday afternoon. That day, Dad was busy at his shop, and Grandma had gone next door to visit a neighbor. At home, only Zhou Yang and I were there. I was working on a practice exam paper in my room. Zhou Yang was in the living room, on the phone with his classmates, making plans to go play soccer together in the afternoon. Sis, I'm heading out to play. Right before he left, he ran to my door and poked his little head in. Got it. Come back early. I didn't even look up, my pen racing across the scratch paper as I worked out the calculations. I'll bring you a popsicle when I get back. He giggled and ran out. I heard the security door slam shut with a bang. I thought he had left, immersed in complex functions and formulas. I was completely oblivious to everything happening around me. I don't know how much time has passed. I finished the last big problem and let out a long sigh of relief. I glanced at the time. Over an hour had already gone by. I stood up, stretched my stiff neck, and got ready to head to the living room to pour myself a glass of water. However, when I walked out of the room, I felt that something was off. It was too quiet. The living room was empty. My younger brother's sneakers were still sitting neatly on the shoe rack by the door. I frowned. What was that brat up to now? Zhou Yang, I called out. No response. Zhou Yang, stop messing around and come out now. I raised my voice. Still, nothing but dead silence. Suddenly, an ominous feeling surged in my heart. I began searching around the house, kitchen, bathroom, balcony. Nothing. My heart sank. Little by little, finally, my gaze landed on the tall, custom-made storage cabinet in the living room. It was something Dad had specially commissioned to increase storage space. The cabinet doors were the push-to-open type, without handles. Pressing it from the outside makes it pop open. I walked over and tentatively pressed the cabinet door. With a soft click, the cabinet door sprang open. Then, I saw it, Zhou Yang, his small body curled up in the dark cabinet. He buried his head deep in his knees. His body was shaking violently, uncontrollably. It seemed like he wanted to play hide-and-seek with me. He hid himself inside, but didn't know how to get out. Yang Yang. I tried calling out to him. He jerked his head up. I saw his little face, pale and streaked with tears and terror. His eyes were bloodshot, his pupils unfocused. His lips trembled, but no sound came out. Yang Yang, what's wrong? Don't be afraid. Jejia is here. I reached out my hand, trying to pull him out, but the moment my hand touched him, he recoiled sharply as if jolted by an electric shock. Then he let out a heart-wrenching scream that didn't sound human. Ah, that cry was filled with utter terror and despair, like a young beast, trapped and struggling for its life. In that instant, my heart felt as if it were violently clutched by an invisible hand. The pain was so intense I could barely breathe. Scenes from a past life flooded my mind without warning, like a tidal wave. A cold, tiny body, dark purple residue at the corners of the mouth. That afternoon, my little brother, who would never wake up again, young, I rushed over like a madman and, ignoring his struggles, held him tightly in my arms as I carried him out. His body was burning hot, yet trembling uncontrollably. Don't be afraid, young, I repeated it over and over, incoherently. Tears blurred my vision. I thought we had already moved past this. I thought that time had healed everything, but I was wrong. That demon may have disappeared from our lives, yet the scars she left behind have long been etched deep into the bones and blood of every one of us. It lurks in the darkest depths of memory. All it takes is a similar scene, a trivial trigger, and it will immediately bare its bloody fangs, dragging us back into that abyss of eternal damnation. 17. Zhou Yang's panic attack struck like a boulder plunging into the calm waters of our lives, sending up towering waves. Dad and Grandma were terrified when they learned what had happened. Dad immediately took Zhou Yang to see a psychiatrist. The diagnosis confirmed my suspicions. It is a severe, stress-induced psychological disorder. The doctor said this trauma originated from a major stimulus during early childhood. Although he no longer remembers exactly what happened, the fear of being abandoned in a dark, confined space has become a part of his subconscious. Once triggered, it causes intense physiological and psychological reactions. This result pierced deep into the hearts of Dad and Grandma like a knife, especially Dad. He sat by Zhou Yang's bedside the entire night. Without closing his eyes, he looked at his son's face, still frowning even in sleep. His eyes were filled with self-blame, regret, and endless lingering fear. If back then, he hadn't been so cowardly, if only he had taken us away a little earlier, back then, would Yang have been spared this pain that was never meant to be his. I sit in the living room, listening to the muffled, low sighs coming from Dad's room. My heart feels nothing but cold. Lu Feng, do you see it? Even though you have already rolled out of our lives, your sins still cling to us like bone-eating maggots, tormenting us. None of us can truly find a way to be free. This matter cast a thick shadow over our home. We all became cautious and guarded. All the cabinet doors in our house were removed by Dad. While sleeping, Zhou Yang's bedroom door had to be left slightly open. With the doctor's intervention, Zhou Yang's emotions gradually stabilized. He seemed to have also forgotten what had happened that afternoon. Once again, he turned back into that cheerful, playful boy. But we all know, some things are already different. That invisible scar will remain there forever. Life must go on. The days of the college entrance exam are drawing closer and closer. I have buried all my emotions deep in my heart. I have thrown myself even more fervently into my studies. I need a goal to help me forget those unpleasant feelings. I need a victory to clear the gloom hanging over my family. Just 1 month before the college entrance exam, on a quiet afternoon, I received a letter. The envelope, pale yellow in color, is very old. There is no sender's address or name on it, only a crooked, uneven postmark. The recipient is written as my name, Zhou Yan. The handwriting was unfamiliar. Somewhat puzzled, I opened the envelope. Inside were a few sheets of letter paper. The paper was thin, carrying the distinct, sterile scent of a hospital. I unfolded the letter. The words on it were written by an elderly person. The handwriting trembled slightly, betraying a mix of excitement and frailty. Yan, my granddaughter. This is Grandma. My pupils suddenly contracted the moment I saw these words. My breath instantly stopped as well. It's her, Li Qin, Lu Fang's mother. That old woman who once pointed her finger at my nose and yelled that I had no manners. Why would she write to me? My first instinct was to tear up the letter and throw it in the trash. I didn't want anything more to do with that family, but my hands wouldn't obey. By some strange compulsion, I continued reading. The letter was very long. Grandma's tone was no longer the harsh and overbearing one I remembered. Instead, it was filled with a nearly humble, pleading sorrow. She said in the letter, Lu Fang is about to die. Back then, after being forcibly sent away by her grandfather, Lu Fang went to a small city in the south. Her grandfather cut off her financial support, hoping she would turn over a new leaf, yet she only doubled down on her wrongdoing. She became addicted to even more serious gambling and lost every penny she had. To pay off her gambling debts, she started drinking and keeping company with disreputable men. Her life had completely fallen apart. In the end, she fell ill, liver cancer, advanced stage. By the time her grandparents found her, she was nothing but skin and bones. Barely recognizable as human, the doctor said she doesn't have much time left. In the letter, Grandma said, when Lu Fang is lucid, she refuses to see anyone and doesn't say a word, only sometimes, alone, gazing out the window, she murmurs two names to herself, Zhou Yan, Zhou Yang. Grandma said she knows that their Lu family has wronged us, they don't have the nerve to ask for our forgiveness. She also didn't mean for us to forgive Lu Fang, she merely had, as a mother, one last bit of selfishness. She wanted to ask, could it be possible, to let Lu Fang, before she dies, let me see her child again, even if it's just a distant glance. Yan Yan, Grandma is begging you, just take pity on this old woman who's about to die, it's a way to let your mother rest a little more at peace. That was the last sentence of the letter. The hospital's address and room number were also included. I finished reading the entire letter. My hands are not trembling, my heart is also utterly calm, there is no anger, there is no sorrow, not even a single shred of pity, only a silent, barren wasteland, death. That word is all too familiar to me. In my past life, this was how I died, alone, in despair and suffering. Back then, whoever showed me any pity. Lu Fang, are you about to taste that same bitterness now? I gazed out the window. The setting sun had dyed the sky a bloody red. How ironic is this karma? Slowly, I folded the letter back up and placed it back into the envelope. Then, I pulled open the drawer and threw it into the very back. I decided to bury this matter deep in my heart, forever, not telling Dad, not telling Grandma. In this world, there is no longer a person named Lu Fang, everything about her has nothing to do with us anymore. 18, I thought I could pretend that nothing had ever happened. I thought that by locking that letter away, I could lock away that name along with it, but I overestimated myself. That letter was like a venomous thorn, lodged deep in my heart. During the day, I tried hard to immerse myself in a sea of practice questions, using complex formulas and obscure classical texts to numb my nerves, but once night falls, when the night grows quiet and still, those words slip out on their own through the cracks in the drawer, spinning, lingering in my mind. Liver cancer, advanced stage, emaciated, barely recognizable as human, murmuring our names under their breath. These words and phrases cling to me like a curse. I started to suffer from insomnia. Night after night, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling. I don't know what I'm really thinking about. Do I hate her? Of course, it was her who ruined my life, and nearly ruined my brother's as well. This hatred is etched into my bones. But then I learned, she is about to die. He died so miserably, so disgracefully, yet in my heart, there was none of the anticipated satisfaction of vengeance, only an indescribable restlessness and emptiness. My state was soon noticed by my father and grandmother. Yan Yan, have you been too tired lately? Look, you've got dark circles under your eyes. The college entrance exam is important, but your health is even more important. Don't wear yourself out. Grandma, feeling distressed, made me some chicken soup. Dad also had a heart-to-heart talk with me. Is the pressure getting too much? It's okay, Yan Yan, no matter how you do on the exam, you'll always be your dad's pride. As long as you've done your best, that's what matters. The more they care about me, the deeper my guilt and inner struggle become. I lied, I deceived the people I love the most, my family. This secret weighs on my chest like a boulder, leaving me breathless. I don't know what I should do at all. Go, or not go, tell them, or not tell them. Logically, I know the best choice is to act as if I don't know anything. Whether Lu Fang lives or dies is none of our concern. We have no obligation, nor any need, to fulfill the dying wish of someone who has hurt us. That would be far too cruel to Dad, to Grandma, and to Zhou Yang. But emotionally, I can't help but think about it. What if I really just let her die like that? Years from now, would I regret it? When Zhou Yang grows up and learns the whole truth, would he ask me, "Sister, why didn't you tell me back then? Why didn't you let me see her one last time?" I don't know. I'm afraid that this choice will become a new knot in the heart, one that can never be untied. One weekend afternoon, I was loafing around on the balcony. Zhou Yang ran over holding a drawing. Sis, look what I drew." He held the drawing up to me, as if presenting a treasure. In the painting, there are 4 people, a tall man, a kind-hearted elderly grandmother, a little girl with braids, and the youngest, a boy. The 4 of them stand hand in hand under the sun. Each one has a big smile on their face. This is Dad, this is Grandma, this is you, and this is me. Zhou Yang pointed at the drawing. introducing each one by one. "We are a family," he announced proudly. I looked at that painting, so vibrant with color, yet so full of childish innocence. I looked at Zhou Yang's smiling face, so pure, without a trace of gloom. My heart felt as if something had gently, softly, bumped into it. A family, yes, this is, after all, our home. I should not let anyone or anything that could destroy this beauty appear. It was at that moment that I made my decision. At night, after Zhou Yang fell asleep, I walked into my father's study. He was going over the shop's accounts under the lamp. "Dad," I called out to him, "what's wrong, Yan? Why aren't you asleep yet?" He looked up and smiled at me. I walked over to him and was silent for a long time. Finally, I took out the letter from my pocket, already crumpled from being squeezed in my hand. I placed it on the desk. "Dad, take a look at this." My father picked up the letter, looking puzzled. The moment he saw the words, "Grandma," his expression instantly changed. He read the letter in complete silence. In the study, the only sound was the soft rustle of paper being turned. I saw his hand, holding the letter, slowly clenching tighter and tighter. His knuckles were slightly white from the force of his grip. After he finished reading, he did not explode in anger or get emotional as I had imagined. He simply, slowly, placed the letter back on the desk. Then, he raised his head and looked at me. His gaze was complicated. There was shock, anger, but more than anything, a deep, boundless weariness. "When did you receive this?" His voice was a little hoarse. "A week ago," I answered softly. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I lowered my head. "I don't know how to say it. I'm afraid you and Grandma will be sad." Dad fell silent. He stood up, walked to the window, and lit a cigarette. The swirling smoke blurred the expression on his face. I couldn't tell what he was thinking. The study fell into a suffocating, prolonged silence. I don't know how long it had been. Dad finally stubbed out the cigarette in his hand. He turned back to face me. His eyes had already returned to calm. Yan, he said, "How do you feel about this?" He didn't make the decision for me, nor did he impose his thoughts on me. He simply asked for my opinion. "Use a posture of equality and respect." In that instant, my eyes felt a little hot. My father, he really is no longer the weak man he used to be. I took a deep breath, lifted my head, and looked straight into his eyes, word by word. Clearly, I stated my decision. "Dad, I want to go. It's not for her, nor is it for forgiveness. It's for myself. I want to go and see with my own eyes what ultimately becomes of the person who brought endless suffering to our family. I want to go and personally put an end to my past life, then, completely and thoroughly, remove her from my life." And, I paused, my voice growing even more resolute. "I'm going alone. This matter has nothing to do with you, or with Yang anymore. This is my war, and mine alone. I want to end it myself." 19. Dad looked at me for a long time. His gaze shifted from shock to struggle, and finally settled into a deep, sorrowful understanding mixed with heartache. He didn't ask anything more. He didn't stop me either. He just reached out and ruffled my hair, just like he did when I was a child. "Go ahead." His voice was hoarse, yet incredibly firm. "Do what you want to do. Dad will be at home, waiting for you to come back. But, Yan, promise Dad one thing." He looked into my eyes and spoke word by word. "Don't go with hatred. After seeing her, forget all of this. Your future is still long and bright. Don't let those dark, unworthy things hold you back anymore." I nodded vigorously. I promise you, Dad." The next day, I took a day off. I didn't tell Grandma or Zhou Yang. I simply, alone, boarded the earliest train heading to that southern city. The scenery outside the window rushed backward, yet my heart was unprecedentedly calm. Dad said, "Don't go with hatred," but he didn't know. In my heart, there was no longer any hatred. Hatred is a luxury that requires emotional investment, and Lu Fang didn't deserve it. I'm just going to see an ending that belongs to my past life, one that was already destined long ago. The hospital is on the other side of the city. Following the address on the letter, I found the inpatient building. The smell of disinfectant lingers in the air, familiar yet suffocating. I walked down the long, quiet corridor. From the hospital rooms on either side come muffled groans and the soft sobbing of family members. This place is the final stop of life, filled with despair and helplessness. I found that hospital room number. The door was slightly ajar. I gently pushed it open a crack. I saw them. My grandfather and grandmother. 6 years had passed. They had both grown old. Grandfather's back was hunched, the official authority he once carried was completely gone, leaving only exhaustion and sorrow etched across his face. Grandma's hair had turned completely white. The sharpness and shrewdness of the past had been washed clean by the years, leaving only a deathly, ashen numbness. They sat by the hospital bed, silent, like two weathered sculptures dried by the wind. Then, I saw the person lying on the bed, the woman who was called my mother. My heart still uncontrollably tightened. That could no longer be considered a person, it was just a withered body, gnawed down to nothing but bones by the disease. Her skin, a waxy yellow, clung tightly to her bones, her cheeks were deeply sunken, with dark hollows around her eyes. Her sparse, graying hair lay scattered on the pillow like withered grass. Her body was covered with all kinds of tubes. They were sustaining the last flicker of life in her, which had long since burned out. This is Lu Fang. This is the woman who once radiated energy and looked down on everyone else just to play mahjong. This is the woman who once pointed at my nose and called me a worthless burden. This is the demon who once locked her own son in a cabinet and pushed her own daughter into hell. Her retribution has arrived. My appearance shattered the deathly silence in the hospital room. Grandpa and Grandma abruptly turned their heads. When they recognized me, their cloudy eyes simultaneously flickered with shock and disbelief. Grandma's lips trembled as if she wanted to say something, but no sound came out. Grandpa stood up, his body slightly trembling with emotion. Yen, you're here. I ignored them. My gaze never left that hospital bed, as if she could feel me watching. That dying woman's eyelids fluttered. She used all the strength in her body and slowly opened her eyes. What a pair of eyes they were, clouded, unfocused, and filled with pain. Her gaze drifted aimlessly across the room. Finally, it settled on me. Her pupils suddenly dilated violently. Her cracked lips parted and closed soundlessly, like a fish out of water. I saw a murky tear roll down from the corner of her eye. Slowly, I walked toward her, step by step, treading upon the bones of my past life. I reached the side of her bed, looking down at her from above, seeing her like this, looking 100 times more miserable than I did in my past life. Are you calling my name? I spoke, my voice so calm without a ripple. Were you waiting for me to come? She looked at me, and her tears flowed even harder. A sound like, ha, came from her throat, like a broken bellows. It seemed as though she wanted to say something. Don't waste your effort. I interrupted her. You must be really wondering how we've been doing, right? I came to tell you, Dad's business is doing great. We moved to a new house. It's big and bright. Grandma is very healthy. She smiles every day. Zhou Yang is tall and handsome, does well in his studies, and is a key player on the school soccer team. He is sunny and kind, and everyone likes him. He no longer remembers anything about you, or about that cabinet. Our family lives very, very happily. With every word I spoke, the color drained from her face. The last faint light in her eyes dimmed. Little by little, pain, despair, and endless regret engulfed her completely, like a tidal wave. You know what? My voice grew even softer, so soft it was like a whisper from hell. It was that afternoon 6 years ago. If you truly locked Zhou Yang inside that cabinet, he would die. He would eat that pack of rat poison and die alone, in darkness and agony, and I will be seen by you as the murderer. You will hit me, curse me, and make everyone despise me. In the end, you will send me to prison. Our whole family will be completely ruined by you. That is the ending you chose for us. It's just a pity. I looked at her eyes, pupils suddenly constricted with fear. I didn't give you that chance. Lu Fang, you lose, completely and utterly defeated. With that, I didn't look at her anymore. I turned around and walked toward the door. Behind me came my grandmother's heart-wrenching, pleading cries. Yen, don't go. Look at her. She is your mother. There also came the harsh, piercing sound of medical instruments alarms, triggered by the patient's violent emotional fluctuations. I did not look back, not a single step. I pulled the door open and walked out, leaving all the cries, please, and the clamor of death behind me. Outside the window at the end of the corridor, the sunlight was just right, warm, bright. I narrowed my eyes and let out a long, deep sigh of relief. Zhou Yan from the previous life. I've avenged you, rest in peace. 20. When I got home, it was already the next afternoon. Dad and Grandma were both waiting for me in the living room. They didn't ask all sorts of questions, only, the moment they saw me push the door open, Dad walked over and gave me a silent, yet powerful hug. Grandma took my hand, her eyes reddening with tears. It's good that you're home, it's good that you're home. Are you hungry? Grandma made your favorite, sweet and sour spare ribs. Looking at them, the ice deep in my eyes finally melted under the warm sun of family love. I smiled, a genuine, relaxed smile. Dad. Grandma, I'm home. That night, as a family, we didn't mention a thing. It was as if we had just gone through the most ordinary, most commonplace weekend, eating together, watching TV together, chatting about the funny things that happened at Zhou Yang's school. That name, and everything it stood for, had been quietly and completely erased from our lives, by unspoken agreement, as if she had never existed at all. After that meeting, I never suffered from insomnia again, the boulder that had weighed on my heart for 2 lifetimes was finally, completely removed. My soul gained an unprecedented sense of ease and freedom. I, at last, can live only for myself and for the family I love. The last month, I threw myself into the final sprint with an almost perfect state of focus. The college entrance examination arrives as scheduled. Dad and Grandma are even more nervous than I am. Outside the exam hall, Dad paced back and forth under the scorching sun. Grandma, on the other hand, was carrying a thermos bucket filled with the mung bean soup she had been simmering all morning. I walked into the exam hall, turned back, and waved at them. On their faces were the same smiles, worried yet full of anticipation. I took a deep breath and turned around. A sense of calm fills my heart. I know I won't let them down. This is not just an exam, it is a testament I present to myself, to my family, and to this hard-won new beginning. The 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The moment I wrote the last punctuation mark and handed in my paper, my high school days are over. It also means that the heaviest chapter of my past is now completely behind me. The days waiting for the exam results are a sweet torment. The day the score inquiry channel opened, the atmosphere at home became extremely tense. Dad's hand was trembling so much with nervousness that he could barely hold the mouse steady. A string of admission ticket numbers and passwords was entered. Press enter. A number popped up on the screen, a number that instantly froze the entire room. 721 points. Number 1 science student in the entire province. After a brief silence, a deafening cheer erupted, threatening to blow the roof off. Grandma held me in her arms, overwhelmed with emotion, laughing and crying all at once, barely able to get the words out. My precious granddaughter, my top-scoring granddaughter. Dad, this strong man who had long stopped shedding tears, his eyes, too, turned red. He patted my shoulder hard, and the only words that came out of his mouth were the same two, over and over. Fine, fine. Zhou Yang is even more excited than I am. He was jumping and dancing around the room with my report card in his hand. My sister is the top scorer. My sister is the top scorer. Our family held each other tightly in an embrace. We have all sacrificed far too much for the joy of this moment. All the suffering, grievances, and struggles at this moment. It all turns into the sweetest fruit of victory. That day, the phone at our house has been ringing off the hook. School, relatives, media. Dad canceled all his interviews. He simply took us, in the evening, to the best restaurant in town. He ordered a large table full of dishes. Our family had a wonderful celebration. Just as we were eating, Dad's phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Dad answered it. On the other end of the line was a voice that sounded old and weary. It's Grandpa. He only said 2 sentences. The first was, "Congratulations to Yan Yan for becoming the top scholar. We are all happy for her." The second was, "Lu Fang is gone. She left this morning." After hearing that, Dad said nothing. He just silently hung up the phone. He looked up and glanced at me. We both understood it from each other's eyes. An era has come to an end. Dad raised his glass. "Come on, Yan Yan." "Dad, cheers to you. Congratulations on getting into your dream university. Congratulations to you as well. From now on, the vast sea allows you to soar through the sky, and the boundless sky lets you fly freely." I raised my glass and clinked it heavily with his. "Thank you, Dad." Outside the restaurant window, the city lights began to glow, brilliant and dazzling. An old world had already died. A brand new, radiant future was walking toward me. 21, time flies. Another 10 years have passed. Beijing, late autumn, golden ginkgo leaves carpeted the entire street. I walked out of the law firm building, looked up, and gazed at the clear blue sky. The sunlight is warm, but not glaring. I dialed home. "Hello, Grandma, I'm off work now." "Oh, my great lawyer is back. What do you want to eat today? Grandma will cook it for you." On the other end of the phone, Grandma's voice came through, full of vitality. 10 years have passed, and Grandma is still in good health. Anything is fine. I love everything Grandma makes, I said with a smile. By the way, where's Yang Yang? Where has he run off to goof around again? Where else could he be? He's at the basketball court. Grandma's tone was full of indulgent complaints. He's already a senior this year. About to graduate, but he's still like a kid, can't stand a day without touching a ball. I can imagine my younger brother running freely under the sun, sweating profusely. After hanging up the phone, I hailed a taxi driver to Tsinghua University, East Gate. 10 minutes later, the car stopped at the familiar and dear campus gate. This is where I have struggled for 4 years. It is also the most beautiful memory of my youth. I did not go inside. I am just standing across the street, quietly gazing at that ancient and solemn school gate, looking at those young faces, full of vitality and high spirits. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Dad, a photo. In the photo, it's the new shelves in the store, fully stocked. Dad's hardware store has now grown into a well-known chain supermarket in this city. He never remarried. He said having the 3 of us is enough, the rest of his life. He lived only for us. Below the photo, there was a line of text, "Sweetheart, Dad has added another row to the dowry. He's saving for you." My eyes grew a little misty. I smiled and sent him a big heart back. My life is complete. My studies and career have all been smooth sailing. My family is healthy, happy, and always by my side. I have become the person I wanted to be, and I have also gained everything I cherish most. I thought the memories of the past had long been washed away clean by time, until last month. I took on a legal aid case. A woman who had been abused by her husband for years finally gathered the courage to file for divorce and fight for custody of their child. While organizing the case files, I saw that the woman's husband worked as a purchasing agent at a small factory. I saw her 3-year-old son, who had developed a severe psychological illness from living in constant fear for a long time. I saw her cowardly husband, who could only crouch in the corner, holding his head. I also saw her mother-in-law, who favored boys over girls and couldn't tell right from wrong. At that moment, all the scenes, all the pain and despair from my past life, once again, clearly, appeared before my eyes. Only then did I realize, had not forgotten. I simply buried them in the deepest corner of my memory. They have long since become a part of my life. It is they who have shaped the strong, independent, and never give up person I am today. I helped that woman win the lawsuit. The day she left with her child, she bowed deeply to me. She said, "Lawyer Zhou, thank you. You gave me and my child a chance to be reborn." I looked at her and smiled, because I, too, once gave myself such a chance. "Zhou Yan," a clear, energetic voice interrupted my thoughts. I turned around, and saw that big boy, dressed in a jersey and holding a basketball, radiating a sunny aura all over, running toward me with a smile. It was Zhou Yang. He had grown taller than Dad. His features held a familiar trace of him, yet he was even more handsome and dashing. "Sis, why are you here?" He ran up to me and habitually ruffled my hair. "I'm here to pick up the future big star and take you home for dinner." I smiled and swatted his hand away. "Let's go." He put his arm around my shoulder, as close and intimate as when we were kids. "Sis, I need to tell you something." "Yeah, I'm planning to take the graduate school entrance exam." "Oh, where do you want to apply?" "Peking University Law School." I was stunned. I turned my head to look at him. His eyes were bright and resolute. "Sis, I want to become someone like you. I want to use the knowledge I've learned to protect those who have been hurt like we once were. I want to make this world a little bit fairer and more just." The afterglow of the setting sun spilled across his face, gilding the contours of his youthful idealism with a golden halo. I could no longer hold back my tears, and they finally streamed down my face. These are not tears of sorrow, they are tears of joy, of emotion, of relief. I look at my younger brother. I look at this treasure that I have protected through 2 lifetimes of effort. He was not consumed by the shadows of the past. He grew into a towering man, 1,000,000 times better than I could have ever imagined. He will carry my hopes, my dreams, and my unfinished obsessions, and walk a broader, brighter path. "Okay," I sniffled and gave him the brightest smile. "Big sister supports you." The 2 of us, brother and sister, walked side by side down the street covered in fallen leaves. Our shadows stretched long and long in the setting sun. I lifted my head and looked into the distance. The sunset glow at the horizon blazed like fire, burning with its final and most brilliant radiance. I knew it, the darkness had long passed and our lives were just beginning to turn toward the sun. The future is a vast expanse of light, a smooth journey for miles ahead.